This episode of Cast the Craze is brought to you by...
He killed his father. A curse on his people. Betraying his family in search of the truth. Awakening the evil behind the curse. Now they must race to save their people. Or die trying.
Welcome to another live episode of Cast the Craze Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and George the Dreamer Medina is not with me tonight, but we do have a special guest on tonight. We have the creative team behind Snowpaw, a very successful campaign running now on Kickstarter. So let's get it!
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Cast the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the Dreamer, Medina, and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to Cast the Craze. If you are an independent, Cast the Craze. Making moves on your own, Cast the Craze. On your grind in the streets, Cast the Craze. Join the movement, Cast the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the Craze. Welcome to another live episode of Cast the Craze Podcast. Again, I am your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera. And I am with Alf. I'm with Alf. What's up? San Martino, Tech the Gods cast in the house. The future podcast of Tech the Gods. Looking forward to that. So tonight we're going to have two guests on tonight. We're going to have Robert A. Multari and Mog Park. And Robert is the creator of Snowpaw. Very successful campaign on Kickstarter right now. Snowpaw is on fire. 434 backers, and they still have 13 days to go. Can you believe it? That's crazy. And 13,000 in on a goal of $10,000. So, briefly, I'll just give you a rundown, and then I'm going to go into some indie stuff. But, so the story for Snowpaw is Sorella, or Saray, McKinley, is a strong-willed farm girl born and raised in the Scottish Highlands during the 19th century who dreams about a life of adventure. Upon discovering her pure-blood monarchy, werewolf lineage, Saray's eyes are opened for the first time to the existence of supernatural beings and creatures of fantasy. With the aid of Silvermane, a fellow pure-blood monarchy, Saray must find her place in the world while training to master her lycanthropy. I hope I'm saying it right. Lycanthropy. I don't know what the hell. This is what happens when I have big lips. In order to battle the Dark Covenant of the European region, led by the malevolent mongrel monarchy Grim Fang. So there's the premise for it. Robert's the writer, creator, and so basically the Matrix. Yes. So, I just wanted to, pay some recognition to some of the cats that have been on the show that I currently have campaigns on right now. And so, for instance, what's this one right here? We just had Jason Lennox. And if you go to Kickstarter's main page, if you just go to Kickstarter.com, he is featured on the main page. And there's a headline that says, Creative Works shows us what's possible. Help fund it here. Within the last day, 42 projects were funded. $3,102,861 towards creative works raised, and 36,145 backings. And his book, the Satanic Coloring Book, volumes 1 and 2, is featured on the main page. So bravo to you, Jason Lennox. You are doing big things, and he's been blowing away his campaign. He's on fire. And my boy J.D. Calderon, he has a campaign going right now, the Oswald Chronicles. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. He blew away his gourd in the first 24 hours, and he has 40 backers currently with 26 days to go. He's going to be on the show soon. We're just trying to work out the logistics for that. And he's got 1,900 raised, so he's been in the game for a hot minute. He used to be the printer for Crazy Comics back in the days. He used to print all our books. So, and he has a really great project with the Oswald Chronicles. So check that out when you get a chance. Our boys that created Bigfoot Knows Karate, killing it. They got 140 backers with 21 days to go. They've raised $5,257 on a goal of 1,000. So Bigfoot Knows Karate. He is kicking everybody out of the way and making things happen. And lastly, we had Grant Lankard, and he has Memoirs of the Morbid, and he has a goal of 4,000. He's on his way. He is a little less. He's got about $994 to raise. He has 80 backers, and he has 10 days to go, and I'm sure that he can do it. With 10 days to go, he should be able to just knock it out, because you think about it. It's a 30-day campaign. In 20 days, he raised about 75%. Yeah, 75%. So if he has 10 more days, he can do that 25%. So check out more Memoirs of the Morbid and all these cool cats. And then last but not least, it's not a campaign, but it's the girls, it's the crew. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, check out the girls over at Ragin'. So it's RaginAVC.com. They have a YouTube channel. These girls are hilarious. They are the modern day Laverne and Shirley. They are killing it. They are funny. They're hilarious. It's like Oscar Madison and Felix Unger. These ladies are a riot. And join us on the 27th, because we will be with them on the 27th, celebrating Halloween before Halloween. So you want to get down with us and join the party. We're going to be dressing up. George is going to be pretending he's going to have a flute, but it's going to be ginger ale. It's going to look like liquor, but it's really ginger ale. So don't let him fool you. Don't let him fool you. Oh, no. So, so Ragin', these girls are hot right now. Also, if you didn't know, these girls do a lot of things for the independent community, especially if you have a campaign. They are reps. They help make you get to the top. So check them out, hit them up, DM them, find out more about what they do. They got mail call, product reviews, vlogging, blogging challenges, and they also rep. So give them a holla, let them know where you heard it first right here on Catch the Craze. So that's enough about that, and I'm looking for something right now because I want to share with you guys. If you didn't know, where'd you go? ¿Qué pasó? Oh, there it is. Bang. There it is. My bad. So as you know, November 1st, we're going to launch Forbidden. And today I've been working on all of the reward levels and the incentives and the first day bundles. There are 2 first day bundles. 2. That's a big surprise. So there are 2, and one's, they're both only available for the first 24 hours. And one's a huge savings. It's like a 25% or 20% savings from the actual reward tier. So on the first day, you're going to save on that bundle. And then there's a cycle special. There's a cycle special. John Coates' first day bundle. So you want to check that out. It's going to be fun. So if you haven't heard about Forbidden is an epic fantasy series that I created back in 2000. And my boy Anibal Arroyo hemmed the illustration work on the first 2 issues. And he's done a lot of the cover work. And so he's actually featured on the Kickstarter. Hey, what's up? What's up? You just missed it. I was plugging you guys. And he did the first 2 issues and the covers. He's got the Kickstarter exclusive cover. And Prime Sancho, who takes over from issue 2 on, has the cover, the Indiegogo exclusive cover. So if you're watching, like I said, the girls from Rage and Meredith is in the chat. So if you want to DM them about repping your projects, hit her up. She's in the chat. So Prime Satra takes over this. We have a variant cover by John Coates, a.k.a. The Psycho, artist formerly known as. Nice. Outstanding. Yes. No, George is not with me tonight. I'm flying this ship solo. And so I'm excited about that. Can't wait to see the colored page of the piece that I did of the crossover of Philip Russett's Tragedy and Forbidden, which is going to be an incentive if we get to 75 backers. So we have a backer goal and we have a monetary goal. There's a lot of different incentives, a lot of new stuff, a lot of new trading cards and stickers, and in this series, there's 4 covers and the graphic novel. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited about this one. Looking forward to it. If you haven't signed, in fact, what am I doing? I'm talking and talking. I didn't even put the links in the chat. So, this is what happens when you're flying solo. You got to do everything. So here's the Kickstarter link. And here is the Indiegogo link. Check it out when you get a chance. And if you listen, and for those of you who are going to be listening on iHeartRadio or Spotify or whatever, you can always go to the YouTube channel and hit the link, or even to Podbean, because all the links are there as well, or go to crazycomics.com. That's with 2 E's and not a Y, crazycomics.com. So again, November 1st, live launch party. It's going to be a fiesta. Wow, Ted Davis, what's up, Ted? He's in the house. Check the guys. Yeah, I know. I have to control him. He's a beast. So we have a few things coming up. We have the 27th. We have the party, the Halloween party with the Raging crew, the girls from Raging, and on the 1st we have the live launch. So it's going to be a big week. So that week is multiple live events. Because we're going live on Monday, then we're live on Tuesday. And also, I just realized that I'm going to be on a few podcasts. I'm going to be announcing them soon. These are new podcasts I've never been on. I reached out to a few. In fact, I've reached out to a lot of podcasts to promote the campaign. And a lot didn't answer, but a few did. And like and shared, guys. Oh, yo, man, thank you. You're the man, brother. You are the man. Thank you so much. Yeah, so there's 2 new podcasts I'm going to be on. Look for the announcements coming up very soon. One's going to be on Halloween weekend, and the other one's going to be the Sunday after the campaign launches. So I'll be promoting those very soon. Again, 2 new podcasts that I've never been on. I'm trying to reach a diverse audience. So one's a sci-fi focused podcast. And one is a comic book related podcast. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, trying new things. But for all of you other podcasters that I reached out to and you didn't even answer me, shame on you. Shame. Right? So anyway, see, I could do this because George is not here. If George would be here, he's like, Sam, play nice. And I'm like, well, Peter doesn't play nice. Why do I have to play nice? So anyway, I'm excited about it. And don't forget, if you haven't, check out Get Your Meds. My boy George the Dreamer Bedina. He's getting ready to launch in 2022. Wonder Duck, his campaign for Wonder Duck. So that's going to be crazy. It's going to be fire. And yes, that's right. It's a lot of things. My roster is crazy. Like, we're booking January right now. The roster is out of control. And the amount of campaigns that are out there, out of control. It's amazing. It's like the floodgates opened. But that's what happens. I'm excited. George can't censor George can't censor me. George is like, Sam, you gotta play nice. I'm like, I don't want to play nice. Release the Kraken. So 2022 is an interesting year because it's the year of the graphic novels for us. So it's Cast of Crazies, volume number 1, launching first. Then Wonder Duck, I believe he's doing his graphic novel. And then it's there's the In My Toilet graphic novel, and then there's the Forbidden epic novel, which is 200-page book. Because this is the last single campaign for Forbidden. So I'm going straight from this campaign straight to next fall. And again, I'm moving it to next fall. Next fall for the big one. This is going to be the epic one. So you're not going to want to miss that one. Biff, bam, boom. What's up, y'all? Yes. What's up, everybody? Holla. So yeah, it's going to be fun. So I also moved the What's in the Box to Saturday because of this live show today, and we have a show premiering tomorrow. We've had a show almost every day this week, so I moved the What's in the Box to Saturday. You want to check that one out. And then the following week, we have Tech the Gods Part 2 on What's in the Box. And then the week after, we have Planar Jane Issue 2 on What's in the Box. So look forward to those shows. It's going to be fun on What's in the Box. And again, if you have a book that you'd like to get featured on What's in the Box, all you have to do is send me a PDF, and I'll get you in the lineup, and we'll hook you up. Yeah. Cliff better not act up in this one. That's all I'm saying, because I got the lighter with me. Yeah, that fuego is perfect, because if Cliff falls asleep, it's over. We need to get you guys in TED Talks. Yeah, man. Yes. Bring it on, Donkey Kong. Cliff's Redemption. We'd love to come on your show, brother. Yeah, so if you don't know about Cliff, you got to go see What's in the Box of Tech the Gods. You'll understand why I'm so frustrated with that character, and you'll get my gift, because that character is a little frustrating. Outstanding, brother. Yeah. So Tech the Gods is a good book, except for Cliff. Cliff needs talking to. He needs a little spanking. Outstanding. We're looking forward to that. And yes, and again, like I said, we announced that our girl Daphne Lade, she killed it. She exceeded the $5,000 goal. She also announced that the loyal supporters of her campaign throughout the years are now her egomaniacs, which is, so they're not animaniacs, they're egomaniacs. So don't get it twisted. Buy the book. Just on the buy, not to decide, lol. That's what I got you there for. So he's saying buy the book. It is a good book. Yeah. So yesterday we had a great show. Thanks to our guests last night. We had D. Wayne in the house, and we also had the Jason Lennox last night. So there were good shows last night. So thank you everybody who joined us in the chat last night. And again, like I said, we have Snowpaw created. Robert A. Multari tonight. So they'll be, and once they show up in the waiting room, we're going to go on. And, these guys have an amazing campaign. Again, 434 backers already with 13 days to go. They've exceeded their goal of 10 grand with 13,110 already in. It's the artwork is fuego. The artwork is crazy. And they got, the amount of work they put into this campaign, it's, you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I'm like, wow, they put in a lot of work and a lot of thought to it. And the backstories are pretty dope. Look at that. He outstanding. So, and when they do show up, if you have any questions, just plug them in. And, you know me, I'm good about acknowledging and making sure that those questions get to the guests. But, yeah, so the art is dope. I love the way they set it all up. The page, I like the blades that they have featured in the page. They did a really good job of setting this up. Snow cat's paw. Let them decide. Yeah, so we have one of our guests in the waiting room, and so with that said, you guys know that we also offer sponsorships. So affordable sponsorships. Just ask our previous sponsors. Like I wish I remember the guys that created that comic book that was based on the Chronic. they were sponsors of the show, and we had several sponsors, and Daphne Lays was our most recent one. She actually bought a package deal to promote her campaign, and you can do so too. It's as simple as...
Are you sitting at home wondering how you're going to spread the word about that Comic-Con that you're about to appear at, and you want to get some press? How about your first book signing? How do you spread the word so you can get an audience there? Or that first panel at a Comic-Con? Who do you talk to? Or even your first crowdfunding on Kickstarter or Indiegogo? The world is turning to podcasting to get the word out. Why not you? Sponsor an episode of Cast the Craze and start promoting yourself today.
All right, so here's the link for Snowpaw. Snowpaw on Kickstarter. I hope I spelled it right. Whatever. All right, and I'm going to bring Robert in the studio, and then we'll bring Mog when she shows up. What's up, brother?
Hello, hello.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Bien, gracias. So, welcome to Cast the Craze podcast. You have a very successful campaign, but I want to talk more about you, and then we'll talk about your campaign. So, let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Are we live already?
We are live.
Oh, wow, okay. Hey, I'm Rob Multari, and I'm the creator and writer of Snowpaw, as well as the writer of Nightwolf and the founder of Lone Wolf Comics.
Outstanding. I just want to let you know that we do have several people in the chat. We have Tech the Godcast, Biff Bam Boom Comics. We got Meredith in the chat, and I hope I didn't miss anybody so far. So so I was reading your backstory, and I was very interested because the fact that you were very transparent about growing up faced with the challenge of dyslexia and ADD. My wife has the same thing. So tell me about that. How did you know? Because sometimes it's hard to diagnose, and people just think the kid is acting up, or and it's just being a kid. So how did you know, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so a lot of it, I have to give credit to my mom for recognizing. So I'm the youngest of three, and with my sisters, I guess she had an easier time, with the straight A students that they are, and just kind of wondered, what the hell was wrong with me, right? So, they took me to some specialists, and at the time, this was like when like ADD and dyslexia was like kind of like getting more like commonly known and diagnosed, and then they just kind of took me to a specialist, and then kind of talked with my parents about different things that they could try and do, and the one thing that my mom kind of came up with was getting me comic books to help with recognizing the words and the context of what was happening in the action, plus with the word bubbles they're broken up a lot more, and so it's for me too, like the first copies of Batman that she had got me, it came with cassette tapes with actors that so I could hear them talking and kind of try and figure out what they were saying, and to start putting words together, and so that kind of helped and grew this long growth of like comic love and all that for me.
Outstanding. So at what point did you decide that you wanted to try your hand at doing comics?
So I think when I was in junior high, it got to the point. So I started, like, obviously I was done at that point. I was done playing with action figures and stuff like that. But always when I was playing with my action figures when I was a kid, I would always tell stories with them. It wasn't just like I was repeating things that I was watching or whatever. It was like I had full on, like, with the characters, like I had like my own comic stories made up with them, and different adventures and stuff. So like I kind of had that imagination, that drive to tell a story, whether it was to myself or whatever. But I think whenever I was in junior high, I was in a reading class. I think it was literature class, and we had to read Where the Red Fern Grows. And I found out that that was kind of like an autobiographical or biography book about the writer talking about his childhood and these dogs that he had. And I thought that was kind of, I guess that kind of clicked with me that like somebody actually wrote this. It wasn't just something on a page that like was, that was just miraculously there, I think I had that epiphany, and I was like, huh. And I'm like, and like I said, I was always telling stories, and even when I like watch a movie or a TV show or play a video game that has a long story that's epic, I always feel like I want to do something like that,
Right.
But I think that was where the need and drive started for me, that I wanted to start to tell stories.
Right. And what was the support system like when you were a kid? Because sometimes people look at comics as it's a waste of time, right? What are you doing? It's just a phase you're going through. So what was that support structure like? Were you encouraged, and if you and how did you react?
Yeah. So with my parents, like I said, the comics thing, was what helped me read. So they encouraged that. They're like, they tried with books. The books were, the big novels. To me, it took too long to really enjoy. Like, believe me, when I powered through like the Lord of the Rings, and it was painful, but I wanted to read it, but like with comics, like they had all, like, they always encouraged it. And so they kind of used it as for me to behave and get good grades. So like my mom was like, hey, if you keep your grades up, you don't act out, we will buy you 3 comic books a week. And at the time, I think it was between like 50 cents to $1.
Nice.
But still, it was like, for me, it was like, oh, I get to go pick them, So like I would go to the newsstand and get to choose like the 3 as long as I was good. And believe me, there was very few times that I, missed because, especially if it was like a weekly or monthly book, I wasn't missing that, So but there was times where, I was bad and I had to be grounded and all that fun stuff. And, but like, it hurt, I was like, I didn't get my comics this week.
Yeah. That's awesome. Which was your favorites?
Growing up, Wolverine and the X-Men were my title. Like, Wolverine is my all-time favorite character, followed by Batman. But I grew up in like the Chris Claremont, Jim Lee era of X-Men.
Right.
And so, that was like really heavily influenced, and like I would even go back and get the issues that I missed later on, like just to fill my large X-Men collection. But I have a lot of Spider-Man as well, a lot of Batman, and then I have a bunch of randoms here and there that if I saw the cover and thought, oh, I want to check this out,
right?
But yeah, mostly within the X family.
Nice. So fast forward. You say, you know what? This is what I want to do. What was that first step? How did you approach it? Because I noticed in your bio, you talked about you wrote Stan Lee.
Yes. So when I was 13 or 14, I think I was in 7th grade. No, I take that back. I was definitely 14. I was in 8th grade. I had so in 7th grade, I had the epiphany that I could start doing that stuff. So then I started drawing. Like character designs and stuff. Mog's messaged me to get the link to get on.
I DM'd her on Facebook.
She might not have seen it. Or it may have, like sometimes I get that request.
Not a problem.
Yeah, let me just pop that to her real quick.
Sure.
Sorry. There you go.
Is that how the code says?
Yeah.
Wise guys.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So what was I? But yeah. So
Stanley. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started doing X-Men fan fiction, and it really bothered me that Wolverine at the time, like when Wolverine got his adamantium ripped out, and it took them forever to put it back in there, right? So there was a period where I was like, I'm going to write the story myself. I'm just going to do it and send, and send it in to him. So I did like a whole, series including a brand new X-Men team, kind of like when they introduced New Mutants, it was like a whole nother team, and then later on they had Gen X, which was all right too, but so like I had created my own X-Men team spinoff and included like them in the story to get Wolverine's adamantium back, and I sent I had these really poorly drawn character designs in bios and all that stuff because that's what you do, right? And then I had the scripts that I like typed out on like the MS-DOS word processor.
Wow.
Dating myself.
MS-DOS. Wow. Yes.
So then I had sent it in, and I got this really nice rejection letter. Not necessarily from Stan Lee, but I got it from somebody at Marvel, and saying, "Oh, Stan likes to meet, or to get letters and hear from his fans and stuff like that, and that they have their storylines planned out in advance. So far that they thanked me and all that, and they said, no." But we're not. You probably won't be able to use this stuff, and but they encourage me to continue trying and do keep up the work.
Right.
So for me, as a 13, 14-year-old, that was like
nice, a boost to the ego too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Believe me, I when it came to like the stubbornness of doing this and trying and doing harder, it just was like that fire just went wild.
Outstanding. Yes, I see Mog is in the waiting room, and so we're gonna bring her in right now. And again, you're watching Catch the Craze, and we are live with Robert Multari and Mark Park, who just joined us. Welcome. Hello there.
Hey, you got you mute?
Yeah, she's on mute.
Can you hear us?
Yes. Hello there. Welcome.
Hello.
How you doing? Welcome to the Craze. So we've been chatting a little bit while we're waiting for your mic is off again. So why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do? Mog?
Is it me?
Yeah, that was you.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
I'm having some audio issues apparently.
Oh, no problem.
My name is Mark Park. I'm the interior artist for Rob Multari. I also do the cover art as well as other things like game designs and commercial art, commercial works, book illustrations, and such.
Nice. So, same thing. We just want to go back before we go forward. So, how'd you get your start into illustration, and what was it that inspired you?
Are you talking about like how I started studying or actual professional start working?
Before professional. What inspired you to go that route to become an illustrator?
I've always wanted to do art, but apparently, unfortunately, I was growing up in a typical Asian culture. And my mom and dad always wanted me to either work in the political field, medical field, or political, medical, and then the service industry, which is more like, I would say more like teaching. Mm-hmm. But I failed all of that. And then I told them, hey, I actually always wanted to do art. Can I do art since I failed everything? And I'm actually born in Korea. And in Korea, you have to actually pass these entrance exams for each college. Wow. It's very strict. So I only had one slot left. And they said, I gave up. I tried everything with you. You want to go to art college? Let's see if you can get in there. And then they picked the most prestigious, hard to get art school in the entire nation. Because, they still want that prestige, I think. Right. I think it's a thing, right? So, and luckily, I don't know, stars were aligned and I got in. It was just fun. And the thing is, I didn't actually study for art. I was very good at academics. So I passed all the academic tests. So I think by that, I just barely passed. And then that's when I really started to work super hard and attain the skill of illustration. And the reason why I chose illustration was because illustration seemed to be the most multifaceted, where it's flexible. You can do so many different kinds of jobs. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to be an artist, I don't want to be pigeonholed just being able to do only one thing, like 3D animation, something like that. So why don't I just develop an overall good generic skill, which is illustration back at the time. And here I am.
Outstanding. So what
I
was
would not call that generic. Amazing.
no? Your work is fantastic. So what was your first professional gig?
Well, my first professional gig, believe it or not, was back at the time. It was Tokyo Pop. I was a major manga publishing company, and I had submitted some of my works to them, and they really liked it, especially this one editor. And she kept, pushing for me, and then they, did a contract, and then unfortunately the company kind of went bankrupt. I was in the tail end, I guess. Right. So that gig got folded. But I learned a lot from there. And then my second major gig would be, I would say, years after that, the Game of Thrones for the HBO show. Yeah, that just came out of nowhere. So that was a blessing. And then from then on, I did a lot of like game design, book illustrations, and cover arts.
Outstanding. So now, roads connect. How did the two of you meet?
I think Rob can tell a better story.
You just don't remember me.
How did you know?
You admitted on camera like a couple weeks ago. So the way the two of us met kind of was a longer road than just being like, hey, how you doing, kind of a situation. So I had been following her. Like, I am a big fan of Game of Thrones. And when I found out that she had done Game of Thrones art through mutual friends, just seeing her do comic cover art for them, and then I saw checking out her profile, checking out and I saw Game of Thrones. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. So like I followed her, all her different art channels, as a writer often does, follow the artists so they for future possible projects. So fast forward a couple months. I was doing a live signing on Henri Campagne's live signing with Henri. Right. Is a Facebook live show, and he had purchased a bunch of signed copies of my book, Nightwolf, and I'd sent them to him. And he sold a bunch of those on his show. Mog bought a couple off of him, but ran out of the other issues. So she had to come to me to get the rest. So that's kind of like how the two of us got connected, was through that. And then when I saw, comments, what she posted, how much she enjoyed the series, and even her husband Mel said that he was vested and they both enjoyed it, and how much she loved wolves. And I was like, I already had been working on this spinoff series for Snowpaw for at least a year in the works. And then finally I finished my script right before I approached her, and I was like, So I said, hey, I got the, my series. I'm doing a spinoff, female werewolves, 19th century Scotland. And she's like, I'm in.
Nice. So tell us about that first conversation when he approached you. Well,
it was very professional. It was mainly, he was selling his story. So he was pitching. Say, hey, are you interested in historic late 1800s Scotland female werewolf? No, of course the paragraphs were like this long, but right. I'm abbreviating for you. And I was like, hell yeah, man. This is super exciting.
So what was it about the story that appealed to you?
Okay, I'm a huge, I love historical. Anything, I would say before 1920s. Anything before 1920s, I'm okay. So when he said historic, I thought, yes. Plus I have like a very good, I have a good track record doing historical fantasy art. So it was kind of like my jam. And I thought Scotland, I never really explored before, because England, yes. And I thought that would be really exciting and interesting to delve into.
So that's pretty interesting. So what was that research like for you?
The research, like the way I research is very extensive. I really just delve deep. I'm very investigative in my, just naturally. So sometimes I would have to say, if I divide the work into the whole from beginning to finish into like three, so I would say 1/3 is all research, and then 2/3 is actually just work. So that's how much I dedicate my time to it. Usually, I would go into, I borrow books about Scotland, and but mainly Google. If that's what you want to know.
Yeah, the great and powerful Oz. Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how much time did it take? You say it was 1/3, but what does that look like as far as time and also to perfect the look?
Okay, so with Rob, we kind of had a loose agreement that I would do 2 to 3 pages per week. So I would put at least, let's just say 3 days on 2 to 3 days on the actual research. And then the other 2 days or 3 days just doing all line work and going back and forth with Rob because he's a very visionary person where he thinks visually first and then second maybe auditory. So my picture has to match his vision. So there was a bit of going back and forth, and then that included, that's why I would say 2/3 art and then 1/3 reference research. But I forgot to mention, Rob did do a lot of research on his own. So he is very, I think he has a very extensive cinematographic memory.
Right.
He's very good at memorizing like TV scenes or quotes or something. I can't do that. So
I have useless pop culture knowledge. When it comes to school stuff, it's not so much. But anything.
Don't feel bad. I'm the same way with songs. I know like every song, but go ahead.
I don't know how you guys do that. It's crazy. So he would just say, hey, it's from this scene, blah, 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 this scene. And then he would have really good reference materials also posted on his project board.
Right. And
then that really helped me a lot. Because sometimes when you're just typing like late 1800s Scotland castle, like you get bombarded with a lot of images. But that's when I would hit Rob up and then say, hey, can you just give me a bit more specific example? And then he would just hone in on one image and then this. So that really helped. So he also did a lot of research.
The particular castle, Castle Eccles, is actually a real one that's in Scotland, and the Chisholms, were the lords at the time there. I had to figure out, where in that area that I had them placed, and I wanted to find a real authentic castle. And funny enough, is I found modern day images of it through Airbnb, which was awesome because that gave me all the angles I could yes.
Outstanding. So yes, we're getting questions, but before we go into the questions, what was that conversation like was there like conceptual art first submitted, here are the roughs, what do you think? And then there was some like director's comments. What did that look like between the two of you?
Do you want to take that, Rob?
Yeah. So I use Trello, which is a project management online system, and so I set up boards that I have so I had to do, doing, done, and then references, and then I have a card for each page and cover in the board. And then I also, in the references, I have all the character designs and all the places and, everything that I could think of that she might need.
Right.
And then I'll just add to that as she needs. And then typically the way I like to do it is I like to see a rough, kind of like an outline, so I can see spatially how things are going to work. And then if there's anything then a little bit more detail she'll add, so I could see, okay, well, let's change this a little bit more, or if I'd say 90% of the time she hit it on the nail on the head. And but there was a couple times where I had to be like, let's change it to this because this is how it's supposed to be, or again, it's a give and take. And then once we both agree on the layout and like the, you know, the way the characters are fleshed out, she'll then go in and put in the detail lines. And from there, then they go off to the colorist, Bruno.
Nice. So yeah, so Tech the Godcast asks, how do you guys feel about the success of your campaign so far?
I couldn't be happier. I mean, it's been kind of like you know, a dream come true. You know, you know, being a first issue of a new series, you never know how it's going to go, right? So for me, like, this being the, like, so far my best Kickstarter to date, like where we're standing at right now compared to other ones, I mean, I'm thrilled. I couldn't, you know, I have to thank everybody out there who's backed, and my wolf pack for coming out strong.
Yes. I know she got...
Same here. It's like a dream come true. Also, just because it's like my first interior comic, as well as the, yeah, it just feels really.
I'm glad you were able to clarify that, because that was what I was thinking. I was like, wait, I know you mentioned cover artists and she was doing a lot of, you know, single pieces, and this is a full, you know, book. What was, you know, how did you approach doing your first conceptual complete book?
I'm gonna let you answer that one.
I have extensive images. I mean, if you like, I can share that with you. It's crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah, because I think Rob would confirm. Like I said before, I'm very investigative. So I would read everything line by line, and then I would do a lot of thumbnails, you know, and then from the thumbnails, I would give him what I think is the best, and then from there on he gets to choose. But the beginning procedure is very, very extensive. The way I handle, I know most people don't, but I think, at least with me, the beginning is the most important for me,
because it's your first.
I think once I gave him 19 thumbnails for one image.
For the cover, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, she gave me so many, it was so hard to choose. We actually had to poll her audience, like her artist fan base, like to be like, hey, which ones do you like the best?
Wow, outstanding. Yes, you have Envu. Hey guys, found you all. Wicked mug, Rob.
It's almost as big as my head.
There you go. So yeah, so because it was your first approach to comic book illustrating, your approach sounds very anti-typical of a traditional comic book illustrator. Did you go and reference how comic books were made, or you just decided, hey, I'm just going to do it this way and see where it lands?
Yeah, I definitely did study comic books.
Right.
And what I did mainly, surprisingly, is for especially action scenes, because this is an action comic, I referenced manga, because the way they have dynamic different angles and all of that. Actually, yeah, it was mainly manga. I think I referenced just because I'm more familiar with the manga,
right? And
I have like some visual memories of, okay, in this scene.
What was interesting to you to the compared to this? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you guys know this, but this is a classic manga. It's called. It's a style between kind of comic and a bit of Frazetta and manga. Is the Lotus Wars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the Lotus Wars, there was a specific volume, I think 4, and that's the one I referenced mostly because in there they have a lot of panels, and usually like one of the challenges was how can I fit 6 panels or sometimes 7 panels into one page and make it just interesting design wise,
right?
And how can I break up those scenes? And I had a really heck of a hard time figuring like how I can do all that. And then just going to comic books and some of the manga that really helped me help. And then sometimes I think also because I read so much of these graphic novels growing up,
right.
Sometimes it's just like muscle memory.
Right.
And you, right, Rob?
Yeah. I mean, you see it visually and digest so much of it, you kind of see the layouts in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like what you said. I'm very visual when I'm writing my panels and my pages. That's kind of like it's kind of like she was saying, very cinematic, but yet it's still it has like the flow of the comic page in it. As I'm writing, I kind of try to keep that in mind. Like when I'm giving the descriptions,
Right.
you know, whether it's a medium shot, close up, high angle, low angle.
You just answered my question. Yes. Because that was in listening to your approach. My question was, how detailed were your panel descriptions when you were providing that as a guide for the illustrator? Before we go into that, let's see. Short Circuit joined. Welcome, Short Circuit, and says, well, she does have 5 seasons of illustrations, sequentials for HBO, The Game of Thrones. Those are wicked sick, and a record of the Lotus Wars. Yes, very popular manga anime. Yes, I think everybody growing up in pop culture knows that. It was very popular. But yes, so your script. What when you're writing it, is it typical? Is it DC style, Marvel style, where you're saying panel 1, bird's eye view, whatever this is that, or how is that elaborate?
Yeah. So I get very detailed. Like I have a vision of what I want it to do and how it's played out in my head. As I'm writing it, I'm envisioning it. I'm hearing them talk. They're in their own voices. And so I'm basically when I do it by scene, and I have I try to keep it interesting too. I don't want it to be like the same camera angle the whole time,
right? Unless
there's a point, a reason for it. Like, if there's a pacing that needs that, it makes sense. But typically, I like to have like where you have the high angle establishing shot, or even a low angle, depending on like what the action is. So I like to be able to say, what I'm picturing in my head. I try to put as much of that into the detail, who the characters are, what their hands are doing, what their faces expressions are,
right?
To try to get the emotion in there. And then like so I have it like one page broken into the panels, and then through panels that has a description and then the dialogue per panel.
Right.
And then that's how I hand it off as a completed script. And then we kind of go back and discuss a little bit and if we have to combine something or, a panel or two, or maybe even break it up, we'll discuss that within like the rough stages and trying to make it as the best looking as it possibly can.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at the sample pages that you have on a Kickstarter campaign, the eye travels. You did a great job with the camera angles because so you feel like you're moving with the story. So for your, with your breadth of work, the fact that you did a comic book, this is your first project, you don't even look like it was your first project. It looks like you've been a veteran forever.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
I had a good partner, Rob. I learned something from Rob. One of the most interesting thing about Rob's script was there's actually a lot of dialogue, which is very static scenes. And when I first read it and I was doing the thumbnails and working on it, I was asking in my head, why are there so many crazy angles? What's the purpose of this, man? What the heck? Why does it have to be so dramatic? And then I actually I took a quick crash course on film, like on YouTube, like, I don't know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And I was reading about it, like the terminology and stuff. And it said, if it's a static scene, if it's conversation, like if it's really boring, just move the camera like crazy around and that'll make it interesting. And then if it's an action scene, it's okay. But more like static scenes, the more crazy, the more people will be kind of engaged. Right. So I thought that was really cool how I learned that just by reading Rob's script. So thank you, Rob.
You learned that after you cursed my name.
No, I didn't really curse her name. I was just like, what the heck? It's like, why do you have to be so dramatic? Why is it so crazy? And then when I started the film thing, I was like, oh, okay, makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. So we have a question that says, which seasons did you work on for Game of Thrones?
I worked from season 3 all the way till 7. So,
nice.
Yeah. I didn't work on the last season, so that's why. Just kidding.
I saw where it was going. I was jumping ship.
You said jump ship.
Yeah.
I think everybody hated that ending, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It was like, no, what? I think everyone scratched their head. Really? That's crazy. So, so you have, how did you put the rest of the team together? How did you look, what was it about the colorist that you felt that was the right person for the job?
Yeah, so I was looking to basically create a female team to work with. So my editor, she's a female, obviously. I said she, and you know, and then I had Mog. So that those two were already in place at that time, and then so I was doing a search on female colorists, and you think there'd be more of them, right? But there's not a lot of female colorists out there. That and who are available,
Right.
You know, so it just happened to be that as I was, you know, I was looking for somebody. I found Bruna Costa. She's a Brazilian colorist, and she's worked on a couple other indie books, and I just happened to find her. You know, a friend of mine shared a list of like it was a Excel document of female artists, from illustrator to colorist to, you know, graphic designers, whatever, that somebody had compiled, and they were sharing it. So luckily I happened into it, and she was on the list, and one of the ones that, so I had like a bunch of like tabs open in my browser looking at all these different portfolios, and she was one of the top ones that I was like, yeah, I gotta ask. So, you know, and I reached out to three, and it was one of the three. I reached out at the same time to gauge where they were, like, as far as like being, you know, available. And she was one of two who said that they were available, and then it came down to price versus how good they were. And I mean, you know, the how good they were very comparable. I mean, it was almost like just like looking similar style, similar, like just the way the brightness and everything that, you know, how the lighting that they do with the colors is amazing. And then just it was, the price was right, and I said sold.
So what was the entire process as far as from start to finish, from the moment you submitted the script to Mug to now it goes to the colorist, and now who did the lettering?
So I usually do the lettering. So I didn't do it for this book. I am the letterer for Nightwolf. But again, Nightwolf is a completely different team. And I kind of wanted to keep that separate feel. I didn't want it to be just a spinoff. I wanted it to become its own book. And I mean, obviously there's similarities because it's the same world, just 200 years apart. But I wanted it to come from a different look, feel. I wanted it to be its own thing, because this is her story. This isn't Nightwolf, and I do want people to realize that, you know, that this is a completely different story, and that it, you know, it looks different. It has, you know, different takes on things that affect later on in the future, which would be in the Nightwolf series. Like I said, they're connected because they're in the same world and time frame, or not time, you know, timeline, if you will. They're separate, but the actions that happen in this series will resonate later on into the Nightwolf series. And so that's another reason why I chose to work with Dave, because, you know, he came very highly referenced by several of my friends who he's worked with. And so I approached him, and I said, you know, and Dave Lentz, who is the letterer. And he, you know, I was like, hey, you know, we want to take a stab at this? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he busted it out so fast that I was like, you know, for me, like I have all these other hats that I wear between, like, you know, being the art director, managing, you know, everything, and writing and selling and you know, trying to get into retail, you know, like basically everything else that, like, when I go to sit down and letter, it's like, oh, I gotta hurry up. Okay. You know, it's like, so it's like, for me, it's a lot longer process. So like when he was like, oh yeah, here's a page back already, I'm like, I think I might have to hire you full time now.
There you go. Outstanding. Yes. So Chris Fisk just joined, and he says, hello everyone. Woot, Snowpaw, and he says, yeah, Mog's work is top notch. She's a master of her craft. So a lot of fans out there. A lot of fans out there. So she got it for the completion. When the final page is done, how long was that process for you? Fully done, lettered, inked, colored.
Yeah, it was probably a month or 2 months.
Yeah, we have to minus some of the off days like con days, right? No, we did. I finished everything before.
You finished right before the cons, but there was still like holidays and kids and stuff in school and whatnot. Yeah, I'd say it was a good I'd say 2 months solid, if not maybe a little more. And then because we kind of even got a late start because I think we wanted to originally launch in June. But obviously that wasn't going to happen. I think you finished in July, if I recall, and then I handed off everything to Bruna, and she finished the end of August.
Yeah.
And then Dave had done everything, and he finished by the beginning of September. And then at that point, it was on me to get the Kickstarter page together while Mog was doing her gorgeous cover.
Outstanding. Yes. So Robin Fuller just joined and says congrats on the continued success of you two. So now let's talk about the launch. Like how long did you have the landing page activated before you actually launched it?
I think it was like 3 weeks. Was by the time I got, because I rushed to get as much as I could done, like a skeletal page together to be able to put the pre-launch page up.
Right.
And then in between the 3 weeks that it was doing that, I was rushing then to finish all of like the details, the graphics and everything else, and then trying to nail down the rewards, which the rewards and the video typically take the longest, and the video is the absolute last thing that I do. Because I'm comfortable talking and having a conversation on camera,
right? But
when you're doing it by yourself and you're trying to remember your sales pitch and everything, and all these different sections that you're talking through for like 2 minutes, it gets a bit nerve-wracking, so it's like making sure that you don't mess up. And then when you do, like, I have so many bloopers that like I deleted that I probably could have had like at the at the bottom of the campaign, be like, hey, if you want to see Rob act like an idiot.
Nice.
Also, it's good that you do it the last, because that's where you can get a chance to slim down.
I feel like because I'm sitting at the computer for so long, so that's not so much slimming down.
Nice.
If I wanted to be slim, it'd be before I get into this.
Yeah, like you start pumping iron, it's like at least make my arms look big, Yeah.
Nice.
I had to get my girlish figure into my kilt.
There you go. So now I'm looking at your it looks like it's very labor intensive, the page that you put together. So walk me through your page and your incentives, and because it's a very successful campaign, it's obvious why. A lot of heart, a lot of detail, attention to detail, quality creators behind this series. But talk about your approach to designing your layout.
So a lot of it originally, you may not know this, but I had a failed Kickstarter back in 2016 for my first series, Nightwolf. But it wasn't necessarily because I had a bad design or bad campaign. I just went too high for I went for a $20,000 goal for 3 issues. I managed to raise $5,000. If I would have set that goal for 1 issue, I'd have been probably farther ahead than I am now. Right. But before I came back to Kickstarter in 2019, I did a lot of like looking, when I was doing that page, I was doing like looking to see what the successful pages were doing. And there was a lot of graphics, a lot of text, kind of a nice balance between the two. And then showing the nice, icons or decals for the, all of the rewards. And it had like a brand, like those were the most successful ones, the ones that looked like, they were professionally done. They weren't just slapped together with a bunch of text or too many images or, right. So then fast forward to that 2019 one, I had joined Tyler James's Comics Launch Pro program to basically give it another shot to find out what I was doing wrong. And I found out that what I was doing wrong, but I also found out that I was doing a lot of things right. So I just enhanced what I was doing right and then took the things out that I was doing wrong. And again, what it came down to is having, having multiple So typically I tend to do like a few variant covers with limited print runs that also help, because when you have like a $5 book, you're not, the profit margin on that's not very good when you're paying almost $2 a book to print, right? So like having these limited print runs is another thing that I had learned to be able to, give a more premium limited edition exclusive for the campaigns. And also, you being able to, like, for me, like I like to have like the shipping included in domestic, because that's giving them the one price,
right?
That way they're not coming and be like, oh, it's getting added another $6 or whatever.
I agree.
Yeah, so I like having that single price line, and I shave a little bit off of the international, just so that I want to be fair too. Like whatever I wasn't putting in for the Americans, I slashed that off of the international prices. So like you'll notice that like if you're in Europe and you go to back the campaign, it's less than what the shipping is going to be for like if you go like on Amazon or something, But also, a lot of that too, like having that price up front, showing, the product big and right there, showing the books in their form, not just a flat, uninteresting static image, but like an actual, 3D looking what it's going to look like as a book, that's a big thing. And then just having, like I said, having a brand, and it having like showing like character, like for me, like I like having my character designs in with like the headers, because it kind of shows that out, but it's not taking up a huge chunk of space, showing all the designs, and it's giving a hint of what the book looks like, but also goes along with that branding. And it's just because the page gets long, the more rewards you add, the longer it goes, right? Yes. And this one particularly has quite a bit of rewards, and I've added a few since with stretch goals. But again, and I have more creators working with me this time than I had in my past book. So, again, that kind of adds to the page. But as long as you have it where like you show what's important first, right. And I felt like I put 9 pages of preview, because one, I wanted people I want it to be like you're in a comic shop, you're flipping through the book, and you're like, I like this, I'm going to buy it. Do you know what I mean? Like I wanted people I wanted them to make that decision before, going into this, so that they knew what they were getting into, right. And, that they knew that they liked it. If they didn't like, if they bought it and then later on decided that they didn't like it, that's no good for anybody, right? That's not good for the creator. That's not good for the reader. That's just time and money wasted for both. When you actually like a project, like a book, and that you do going into it, you at that point you've already you're vested into the project, you're ready to go, you read it, you're super happy, you come back again, and then that later on, like for the the creator who has like, if people don't come back and you wonder why, and you're like, well, what did I do wrong? That's a whole lot of headache that nobody wants.
Right. So some people don't come back from that first failure. What made you stay focused as I'm still going to go back on Kickstarter and I'm going to do it again?
So I'm stubborn. That's one thing. But it took the wind out of my sails. I think there was a good 7 months that I kind of was like, I only had 5 pages, and I had the cover done and the character designs. That was, during that campaign. I was still... so I was like, all right, I need to figure out how to pay the artist to finish the book. So it's kind of like, okay, how am I going to do that? Right. And so I was doing freelance web design and graphic design. I'm a web and graphic designer full time. That's my job. So I figured, hey, why not use that, as a side thing and put that money towards this? So finally, so that was 2016. That was April, and 2017 in September, the book was finally finished. I had paid the artist, and that I had it all lettered and ready to go. Didn't have any money to print, but I sucked it up and I just did it anyway. And then my wife and I were like, okay, well, now we have to test the market, right? Is this a viable thing? So I took 100 copies that I had with me. I took to my first Comic-Con, which was the Steel City Con. It was December 2017, and I was in Artist Alley. I had that one book, stacked up with a bunch of character design prints, like 8x10s to fill my table, so it just didn't look like an empty table with one stack of books.
Right.
And then I had a makeshift banner that my cousin printed out for me. And so I had hanging, that's all that stuff with me. And I almost sold out of every single copy that I had. So for me, it was like, at that point I was like, I have to keep going. And then I told my wife, like before I came home, I'm like, I almost sold out of everything. So she's like, all right, well, let's dip into the savings. Let's get issue 2 going, and then I did more freelance stuff. And so issue 2 came out, same difference. Like, I mean, every con that I was going to, I was selling books left and right. And at that, so it was still like, for me, I was learning the game at the time,
Right.
And then finally I was like, okay, well, it's time for issue 3. We don't have any savings left. I don't have any jobs lined up, freelance stuff. What are you going to do? So I need something, in cons, I can only do so many a month. Like, I can only do one a month. I have a full-time job and I can only do so many a year. So it wasn't making enough to be able to then put it towards a book.
Right.
I was basically just kind of breaking even on the trips. So that's when I decided I was looking into different ways to sell, and I was looking up Facebook ads and how to do that.
Right.
I did it for my job, but I wasn't great at it. But then I saw Tyler James's, thing, his program, and I was like, all right, well, let's give it a try. Got into it. Got my confidence back about what I was doing and what I wasn't doing right. And then boom, here I went to that first successful Kickstarter with issues 1 through 3 of Nightwolf in October 2019, and it overfunded, and it was the beginning of just the ball started rolling and the snowballing effect.
Nice.
What's that, Rob? I have to ask. You said the first time you had the 100 copies and you almost sold out. Like, did you wear a kilt at the time?
No, not that time. No. I honestly, the first time that I wore a kilt for any of this was for for this Kickstarter video. I mean, I have the kilt for going to like medieval fairs and stuff. It's my family. I'm a wee bit Scottish. Very little though. It's on my mom's side. She's like 7 different nationalities. I'm a true American. So basically when it came in, with the kilt though, like that's my family tartan, from the Scottish side. And, so I kind of like knew a little bit of that heritage, and I wanted to learn a little bit more.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know this, but the Chisholms in my story, Roderick and James is who is betrothed to Snowpaw, and they're actually based off of my ancestors, and that's how I found Eccles Castle. And around that time period, and it actually fit with where they were at the time, when I started writing the series, where they were in the Highlands near Inverness, that all happened to be it was almost like serendipitous. So I learned a little bit about my heritage and also, more about Scotland and, while writing this book.
Outstanding. Yeah. So Short Circuit says, gotta wear the kilt every time now you do a con. So
yeah, I know. Now that I have, when I have those at the table, it makes sense.
That's awesome.
I'll have to do my cosplay as James. Then I'll get a ponytail.
So, again, you guys are watching Catch the Craze. We're live with Rob Multari and Mark Park, and we're talking about Snowpaw, a very successful campaign right now on Kickstarter. There are 13 days to go. They have 435 backers. So why is it that there's 435 backers and you still listening, you haven't backed? So there's a link in the summary. Click that link. Join the other 435 wolf pack and back this campaign today. You don't want to miss it. So why don't you let us know? Let's go into the story. So what is it about the character that is so unique to the story?
So typically, when you see like a werewolf character, they are, snarling, mindless feral beasts, after being cursed or bit, and the full moon changes them. In my stories, they're born this way. They have these, whenever they have their first change, they may be a little bit more feral, but like afterwards they're able to control, keep their mental faculties, and actually have conversations. Some better than others, because you can't all be the same, right? And so that's like, that's one thing. And then her being a female lead as a werewolf is a whole another thing. You don't see a lot of that out there. And, I wanted this to be something too, that like, I wanted this character to be something that girls, reading comic books can get in, can relate to and can look up to as a great role model. Especially, I have a daughter who's going to be turning 4. I want something to, to show her when she's old enough to be able to enjoy stuff like this. And, not to say that boys can enjoy this too, obviously. This isn't, your typical fairy tale story, mind you. It may at first it may have those hints, but then the fairy tale gets ripped away. But still, it's an enjoying, and it's not overly. So like with Nightwolf, there's a little more horror in the story mixed with the supernatural, whereas this has a little bit more of a fantasy element, opening up my world to fantasy. And inside this book, and Mog can attest to this, that there are little creatures sprinkled throughout the pages that are kind of like a Where's Waldo kind of a situation. Or like, if you ever seen like the original She-Ra series, there was that little looky guy who would hide in like the scenes. At the end, he would come out and be like, "Hey, did you see me?" So I kind of put a little hidden character creature Easter egg hunt in throughout the book, and I plan on doing that moving forward. And the way I chose these characters were like the Scottish lore. Since they're in Scotland, I picked fantasy and supernatural creatures of Scotland that would be in this area. And then it would be the same as they move around Europe throughout the series. It'll be the local lore and local, supernatural creatures and, demons and deities and such that'll make, appearances in this world where humans don't see these things. They're
Right.
oblivious to it, right? Like, you and me, for all we know, we got something running around. We have no idea, right? We may think it's just a mouse crawling in the rafters.
Right, like the characters that are on the shelf in the kitchen.
Exactly.
Yes.
Those are brownies.
Right.
They live in farmhouses and they steal and sometimes help. So yes, that's exactly. That's why those characters are there for us to see, but they're oblivious to it. Everybody in the story, unless they are aware of these creatures. And once Snowpaw is open to, now that she knows that she's one of these creatures, her mind is open more to this kind of extra world that she's like, what? So the next issue is going to be real trippy for her.
Nice. So Chris Fish says, Clan Sawyer, my clan has a tartan that looks like a Pizza Hut tablecloth. Nice. And Jonathan Cyphex just joined the chat. Welcome, Johnny Cyphex. So I love the fact that you gave so many preview pages, and there's a character in that on the ship. He's wearing blue armor, blue and gray armor. Who is that character, and what is he to the story?
So Grim Fang is the main antagonist. He is, if you can imagine Scar in The Lion King, very similar, like to that very elegant, but very powerful. Not so much like Scar. Scar's not as powerful, but he has that cunning, conniving, and very like sleek, demeanor. But he's a very powerful werewolf who actually commands an army of supernatural and demonic creatures at his whim as he goes. And he's very he's very interwoven into the English society, and his human disguise who I'm not going to reveal who that is or what part that plays. But he's very like high influences, and he kind of is like in the background trying to kind of control things, not only from the supernatural side, but also from like the mortal plane as well, to gather wealth and power and corruption and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So again, he's the main antagonist, and he's basically, while doing his corrupting politics game, he smells Snowpaw's aura, if you will, and notices that she's not what she is, and you know, or what she seems to be to everybody else.
Right.
And that's what catches his eye, you know, to her, and why he follows her to the end of this book, which I'm not going to say where and how. But let's just say that he throws a monkey wrench in this fairy tale scene.
Nice. So this is the first of a mini series, an ongoing series.
So this is it has the ability to be an ongoing series. This one is planned out as a 4-part story arc that could end there, but it's left open. Like I said, I have 200 years to play with. So it's going to be one of those like where there's a conflict and resolution that happens in 4, but it's wide open to continue. So I have no doubt, just by watching this campaign, that we could continue on. But just in case, you know, I kind of put a stopping point just in case it wasn't well received. But doesn't look like we're gonna have that problem. Knock on wood.
Outstanding. So, I'm new to this. Never heard of this series. What's the elevator pitch?
Yeah. So, in 19th century Scotland, a fierce heroine with an adventurous spirit nearly gives into the social expectations of her time, but a trite fairy tale ending is not meant to be, as Cyrilla McKinley discovers her werewolf lineage. Her eyes are open to the existence of supernatural beings and creatures of fantasy. Snowpaw is, if you are a fan of werewolves, fairies, demons, witches, this is the series for you.
Outstanding. So who's your favorite character, Mog, in the series?
I used to be very traditional, where I always liked the main character, the protagonist. But after drawing hundreds of the same protagonists, I like the villains that just screw or F them over. It's like, yeah, man, yeah. I was so surprised. I never knew I had that in me. And so I actually really, really like the villain.
Oh, and it's there's a scene towards the end of the book, and the look on his face, you could tell there's just pure joy in the malevolence that he's doing there. And I'm like, I kind of wondered. I was like, oh, she's cheesing this.
So
there's a very interesting side character that I really like. His name is Skeleton. So I really like him because he's so sassy. His mouth opens, there's nothing but insults. And when he was talking, it's like it soothed my soul. So yes.
He's that guy. He is Alexander Skeleton. He's a character in there's a scene where these businessmen are having a conversation, and he to me is kind of like Ebenezer Scrooge, in a manner that like he's like, time is money. I don't have time for these frivolities. Let's get down to brass tacks, you know. And where like James's father Roderick is very like, you know, he's the big. If you think about like Merida's father in Disney's Brave, like that's like, you know, the big voice, big loud, you know, kind of guy. So he kind of like counters him, but he's very joyful and very like, you know, have a drink, you know, get the stick out your ass kind of like.
Nice. So what would you hope people take away from reading this series, this issue?
I honestly, I want them to think, I hope, one, that they would enjoy it. Two, I want them to think that it's something that is unlike what they've read before and want to see it in more media and see more of it.
Right. Nice. Okay, so you have 13 days left. If people have questions, what are your social handles? Where can they reach you?
Mom, do you want to go first?
Oh, yeah. Mine's really simple. It's Mog Park. And Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, ArtStation, and DeviantArt. That's where you can reach me. And also in Facebook every weekend on Sunday, 6 p.m. California time, I do a live stream. So if you want to just come and say hi and be a friend, yeah, do so.
Nice.
Yeah, she's always on during like The Walking Dead. Like I want to watch her. I'm watching The Walking Dead.
That's okay. I deal with you every day, so
yeah, it's true.
Go away.
So you can find me at Lone Wolf Comics on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Lone Wolf Comics, lonewolfcomics.com. And if you wanted to follow me personally, I'm at Rob Multari, same Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you want to do the quick link to the campaign, it's lonewolfcomics.com/snowpaw.
Outstanding.
Join the wolf pack.
Outstanding, yes. And Jonathan says, hello, Rob and Mog. Fantastic work and fantastic art. Great work. Please support them. Yes, and John backs a lot of campaigns. So it's a pleasure having you guys on. It's obvious why you're successful. And again, the link is in the summary. The link's in the chat. Please go over to the page and pledge. If you like this episode, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, put it in a comment below. Again, the links to their social handles are also in the summary, so you can reach them. So thank you guys again for being on Cast the Craze. And you're always welcome back whenever you want to promote a project. Mi casa, su casa. And sorry George couldn't be here today, but we normally don't record on Thursdays, but because we had so many double bookings, I made the exception and said I'm going to do it on Thursday and get you guys because I committed to Wednesday and something got tied up. But I appreciate
growing pains.
Yes, I know. So I appreciate you both. Very talented. Much success to both of you, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
You got it.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Thank you. So, love your work. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay. Is it over?
All right, so that was Mog Park and Robert Multari, and that is Snowpaw. So guys, please go over. Thank you, Chris. Yes, they do have. It is a great book. An amazing campaign. Obviously, it's right there. The book is quality, talented people behind it. Much success to them. So please pledge now if you haven't done so already. Thank you, Anvu. I appreciate you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And don't forget the 27th. George and I will be joining the girls over at Ragin' Cajun. And we will be doing a live stream with them celebrating Halloween on the 27th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be doing a simulcast. So we'll be streaming on both channels. And we'll be dressed up. And we'll be drinking. And we'll be having fun. And it's going to be awesome. So please join us if you haven't done so already. And if you're new to the show, give us a thumbs up. If you like this episode, subscribe if you haven't done so already. The more people that subscribe, the more people that our guests get exposed to when they come on to promote their passion. And again, join us November 1st for the live launch of Forbidden. Thank you. For the live launch of Forbidden, we're launching November 1st right here on Cast the Craze, and it's going to be a party. And again, with that said, I am Sam the Crazy Man Vera. This was another episode of Cast the Craze. You guys have a blessed day. Talk to you soon. It's just easy. It's not.
Crazy. Acquiesce.
No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. I met him. say my name, right? This is what you were thinking? Oh, he described me. He said, I'm the...
What? Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze. On Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.